The Prime Minister has stripped me of my right to earn, to feed my family. And he did so with impunity, to say that the Honorable Dickon Mitchell is bad for national security and is bad for the police force. It may be good for other things, but national security, absolutely not. Watch me, as a police officer, I was embarrassed when the Honorable beloved Prime Minister posed with a marijuana plant, just dashing water in the face of the police force. I felt embarrassed. My problem here is the fact that my rights that are covered by the Constitution is trampled upon in the most obscene way, and it appears as though the Prime Minister has successfully coerced the Public Service Commission to uphold their responsibility. If you listen to these people, they pretty much sung it as some arm of the NDC. They didn't care about my rights or what they should rightly say to me. They agreed that it was impossible for me to be a senior police officer and to be part of the national security and to be the husband of someone who is involved at that level of politics. Well, it went like this. I was on vacation, and around the 3rd of February, I was advised by my commissioner, Mr. Randy Connaught, that I should attend a meeting with the Public Service Commission. I asked why. He was unaware as to the reason, so I asked that, out of courtesy, that he should at least confirm why they wanted to see me, and that because he's unaware, it should be in writing. Because here you had a situation. I had to go to the Public Service Commission, and my immediate supervisor, my boss, so to speak, was unaware as to the reason. He got back to me in a few days, and he did give me something in writing that said, just paraphrasing, that they're calling me to a meeting to discuss my status as a senior police officer. The truth is, I did not know what that meant, but because of the authority they have over me as a public servant, I attended the meeting nonetheless. I obeyed the instruction. I went to the Public Service Commission, and I met with the entire commission. I was a bit taken aback because I was of the opinion that I was going to meet with either a cross-section or with the chairman. But when I got there, I was surprisingly, the entire commission was there. And I was welcomed by the commission, by the chairman, who is Miss Deborah Sen-Bernard. She welcomed me and thanked me for coming. The commission introduced themselves individually, including those that represented the union, both teachers union and I believe public workers union. And then she said, let's get straight into it. And she went straight into it, saying to me that in recent times, my wife, Pierre, is now the head of the NNP. And as such, looking at my file, I was above 50 and above 30 years in service, and that I should take my retirement and my benefits and leave. Yeah, I was a bit surprised, and I'm not normally surprised. But for a minute, I was stunned. For a minute, I recollected myself. She asked me to speak, and I wanted to know why. And she said to me that the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, and the upper echelon of national security, including the executive of the police force that involves the commissioner, has lost confidence in me. And that confidence was lost because my wife is the head of the NNP. Well, we had a large discussion going back and forth about how that had anything to do with me. I said to them, why don't you fire Pierre? Because if you called me here, you say nothing about me. You my supervisor. You say nothing about me, about my performance. You tell me about the head of the NNP, who fortunately is my wife and the mother of my children. So kudos to you. You've described her well. What I have to do with me? I had nothing to do with me. But they went on to say, well, the Prime Minister has no confidence in you, and therefore you should retire. We had some decent conversations. Eventually, one of the commissioners, I think is Miss Faith Thompson, said, well, she never saw me like that in the past, and she was referring to me having a walk with my wife during the Christmas season, right? My wife was greeting people in St. George's and Grenville, and I was with her. which of course is a noble thing to do, particularly expecting the celebration of the birth of Christ. But they found that to be terribly annoying and meant that I was doing something untoward. I reminded them that I have my constitutional right to associate with who I wanted, much less my wife for 30 years. Well, they didn't listen. Constitutional rights and all, they continued to trample on it and said that I should leave, I should retire.
Now, two things here. They ask you to retire, and which is early retirement, because you do have a few years left before you got to the legal retirement age, right?
Yeah, well, I have another few years. I have 13 years. I could go until 65. I'm now 52. So you're talking about 13 years to go. And they're asking me to retire. No, the law is clear about asking an officer to retire before the age of compulsory retirement. It talks about the reorganization of the department, right? They are not reorganizing the police force, and my position is not made redundant. So if you examine the Constitution, you realize that they had absolutely no standing to ask me to retire. So in truth and in fact, they said I should keep this confidential, and I'm breaking this confidentiality right now because I think they believe, because it's illegal, because it's unethical, that I shouldn't speak about it. Because there is absolutely nothing in the law that supports asking me to retire. Certainly, being the husband of a politician is not one of them, right? So there's no way they could support what they did because they're not reorganizing the force. The last time I checked, the force needs experts now more than ever. So it can be reorganization. They have not made my position redundant, and so they have no standing, not a legal one, not an ethical one, not a moral one, to ask me to retire. And I see why now they want me to keep it quiet and confidential, but that has ended today. I think I've stayed quiet for long enough as a public servant. I served for 34 years. And by their own admission, when they perused my file, they saw it was unblemished. I did not have one disciplinary even question throughout that 34 years. I quizzed them in the meeting as to whether I breached any regulation, any code of conduct, anything whatsoever, and they assured me that you did absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah, you're right. The only thing I did wrong was that my wife is the head of the NLP. Well, I can't do anything about that. It's the last thing I would do to separate myself from my wife of 30 years to please the Public Service Commission or to please the Honorable Prime Minister. Right? I quizzed them as to why the Prime Minister lost confidence in me. Well, the only thing they pegged it with, it was because Emily is the head of the NLP. I find that to be most disturbing. We have a leader of a country who is comfortable in trampling on the rights of citizens, not because of an infraction, not because I did anything untoward. The only reason is because of my perceived affiliation to the NNP, right? Well, they're speaking about walking with my wife. Well, I sleep with my wife. So what walking? Walking is minor, right? I, as a citizen who chose to be a police officer, should be allowed to walk. The Prime Minister has stripped me of my right to earn, to feed my family. And he did so with impunity. The Public Service Commission, who by design, which is a creature of the Constitution itself, right, is designed to hire, to appoint, to promote, and essentially to protect the public servant from his or her right being trampled upon. And they did just the opposite. Imagine you have union representatives on the Public Service Commission who themselves are to mind and look after the rights of the workers. And these people sat there and join in and trample on my rights. One of the representatives, I think it was Faye Thompson, she said, now Miss Judy Benoit said, well, Mr. Pierre, one day you have to retire. I said, well, yeah, but the time ain't come yet. When the time come, call me back. And they said that they empathized with me. I was wondering what was the empathy about? I hold a job for 34 years. I did absolutely nothing wrong. And you are saying to me, I should leave that job and do what I don't know what. The fact is, I, because of my how naive I am, I convinced myself that the Honorable Prime Minister could not have been a superintendent presiding over something so cruel. So I sought to get an audience with him. Well, after 6 weeks, I was told that he was so busy. The person who spoke to me added some O's in so to tell me how busy the Honorable Prime Minister was, and so he couldn't meet with me. And of course, I was just naive. Of course, he is the orchestrator of what he perceived to be my destruction. So how could he be comfortable in speaking with me? My problem here is the fact that my rights that are covered by the Constitution is trampled upon in the most obscene way. And it appears as though the Prime Minister has successfully um, coerce the Public Service Commission to uphold their responsibility. If you listen to these people, they pretty much sounded as some arm of the NDC. They didn't care about my rights or what they should rightly say to me. They agreed that it was impossible for me to be a senior police officer and to be part of the national security and to be the husband of someone who is involved at that level of politics. I mean, a woman that I am extremely proud of. I'm telling you, it's one of the days when I felt I was in a place where I couldn't defend myself because I did nothing wrong, and the story was about Emmeline Payne, and I can do nothing about that. And that argument continued for as long as I could think about. Eventually, I said to them, "Look, if you guys want me to leave, pay me my benefits." And I was referring to, well, my additional 8 or 13 years that they're actually robbing me from. Eventually, the St. Bernard chairman said noted, and they seemed relieved that I agreed to leave and that I now should engage the Ministry of National Security. Listen, the same person who is kneeling on my neck, who is the Prime Minister, I have to now engage his ministry to speak about my benefits. So you have to know how that will turn out. I had no hope. So I had some discussions with the PS there, and long and short, what I got was minuscule in comparison to my 8 years of lost employment, so to speak. And who do you speak to when you're railroaded and you trample upon like that? You can't get to the Prime Minister. You can't speak to the Public Service Commission, who the constitutional organ, which is supposed to look after my well-being as an employee. Can't speak to them. I can't speak to the Prime Minister. What do I do? Right? I'm cornered. And so once you say that you have no confidence in me as a senior police officer, I'm finished because I become persona non grata. I become a risk. I can't stay in the institution in the organization. So I was obviously separated at that time once that was said to me, and I knew I had to leave whatever the circumstances might be. So I just took what I got, and we'll see how the court feels about that. Once the Honorable Prime Minister doesn't have anything to do with the court, any influence, I'm confident that I'll be fine. I mean, I must say to you, I have utmost respect for the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, but certainly his actions is saying something totally different. No, no, let me just say this. I wasn't surprised. I mean, I listened to the Prime Minister saying that creating this division between people who support the NDC and people who do not support the NDC, and to say that only those who support the NDC should get, right? I'm not asking for a handout. I had a job. So it means, therefore, that if you don't support the NDC or you don't perceive to support the NDC, you shouldn't have opportunities. You shouldn't get promotion. And you shouldn't have a job. You shouldn't earn. The man has robbed me from my ability to earn and to feed my family. That is it. And so I think that, I mean, if justice was ever important, it's just me today, but it could be anybody. I mean, money doesn't drive an employee, right? It's enthusiasm for service and a feeling of belonging and psychological and mental comfort that keeps somebody wanting to work. And policing is a kind of job that you will do it for no money. At some point, when you get really engulfed in what this passion is about looking after people and serving people, you can do this for without money. what is happening is because this government, under the stewardship of our Honorable Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, has created a very uncomfortable environment for police officers, right? So there is this myth that is because they can get pension and gratuity, they are leaving. Absolutely not. These guys are leaving who have so much more to give, who is in the prime of service. They're leaving and going and do security jobs. I'm not trying to demean a job. I'm just saying that they want to work because obviously, whatever pension they get or gratuity, it cannot upkeep them and their family. But they are leaving because they are uncomfortable. I remembered one senior officer suggesting that the administration forming a caucus and going around and speaking to police officers to encourage them to stay. And nothing was said about that, but later I heard that they say, well, now it's an NMP purge. So let the people go. But that purge now is a river and it's flowing all over the place. People are, let me tell you, over the last month or so, 5 police officers engaged me talking about leaving. And I said to them, please don't leave, stay on. I explained to them the detriments of the finances and so on. And I say, the force needs you. This morning, on my way here, an officer met me and said, Mr. Pierre, I want to. I said, no, man, don't go. You want to leave after his vacation? I say, stay around. I say, the force needs you, right? Because what we're having is that we have this 70-odd people who have left, talking about people above 20 years who is under 60, right? Really, these are the mentors, right? These are the coaches. And that is the middle of the organization. Once that disappears, you have the bottom, which is the new recruits, the untrained, and you have the top. How would you lead an organization like that? But to me, the organization doesn't understand. And again, that is because that all that is spoken of now is who support who. But watch me, let me tell you something. A police officer don't care about politics. When we're out in the gutter, out in the bush, and something happens, all we care about is protecting each other's back. That is what it is. When it comes down to it, Miss Simon, it doesn't matter who we support. We protect each other. We go out there. I mean, somebody draws a gun, it becomes personal. But these policy makers are trying to instill um politics into everything. So what they are doing, what they said to me was that they don't believe I could be impartial. I don't know what that means. I've been a police officer for 34 years, function under different government. They don't believe I could be impartial. It therefore means no. How do we look at those that are the leadership of the R.G.P.F? He's a ACP. Colin is an ACP. And let me tell you something, Mr. Simon. It's unfair to them, because everybody supports somebody. What is happening is what the prime minister is doing in the ministry. He's pushing this guy in a position where they will be compromised. So take for example, I struggled through this thing from January to August, and my commissioner, Mr. Randy Connor, never spoke to me about the issue. He pretended that he was unaware. Imagine that. That is the person who I'm responsible to, according to my appointment to them. And this man did not speak to me up to this day. I got a discharge certificate at the front desk of police headquarters. My commissioner didn't even speak to me and shake me and say, boy, that was a good run. the man separated himself from me. The executive abandoned me. Nobody spoke to me. And I don't believe that is what he wants to do. But he can't do anything else. Otherwise, he end up in a worse position than me. So these guys now have become tainted and they cannot function. So whatever spillage or whatever bleeding is taking place, they won't be able to do a thing about it. Right? They have no idea what to do. Integrity. They right now in the gutter. I mean, they sounded as any other arm of the NDC, not as a professional body that should be fair with me. These people trample on unfairness and trample on my rights as any trash on the ground. And I listened to them and I was astonished. I say, how can you guys allow this august body to be trampled upon by a prime minister because of politics? And they really couldn't answer. So I have no faith in them. This organization, as far as I'm concerned, as far as the function is concerned, they're finished. They have no legal or integrity or moral authority to speak to any issue ever again. And as a matter of fact, I intend to formally complain to the Integrity Commission. When I look at the code of conduct for people in public life, they've broken several of them because they allow themselves to be railroaded politically. The Constitution, I think is Section 84 speaks about the Constitution not allowing themselves to be under control by any person. That includes the Prime Minister. So although they are appointed through the Prime Minister, the expectation is that they become a sort of independent body for this very same reason. And obviously they are abhorring their constitutional responsibility, and I mean they just use as any battle axe of the Prime Minister to destroy people. On my way here I was just thinking about, the region is going into this freedom of movement. A few countries have accepted that, and people can move uninhibited to take up jobs and opportunities. And I am robbed of an opportunity right in my own country, being a Grenadian. Something have to be wrong, Miss Simon. Something have to be wrong.
Um, as far as you know, is there someone who has replaced you?
Let's listen to me. As far as I know, since I left that school in January, nothing happened, and I don't believe anything would happen because they have no direction. The force has no direction. Because let me tell you, if training is the pillar of any organization, and if you have 8 months, you did not train a person in the organization. 8 months, nothing happening at the training school level. We have two groups of recruits that were trained for 5 weeks, right? These people were scheduled to complete their training by now, the two groups. They refused to do so. So they are comfortable with people trained 5 weeks, right, on the streets of Grenada. I mean, how can they unleash that on the public?
Training for 5 weeks, is that standard?
Well, many years ago, when the force was being built from the beginning, there are some short training, and rightly so. They needed to do that to get the numbers. But in 2025 or 2022, 23, in this modern environment with this kind of dynamics with criminal activity, they forced the school to train people for 5 weeks. And these people, some of them maybe have, I don't know if it's close to 2 years or more than a year, have not completed their training. You find as an organization with direction, and they didn't give one reason. I begged, I produced all kinds of documents to show how it could be done, even part of their model with mentorship and coaching and bringing the students back. They just didn't bother. I suspect it's because of Tafawa Pierre because they would train them. But of course, they didn't want to listen to me or any suggestion I had. So these people are untrained, and it's unfortunate because people who are untrained never remains in an organization, because what you train most of all is the mind, is the thinking. And if you don't get a chance to change people's perception, they won't be able to take the pressure of being a police officer. Not just putting on a uniform. You have to have a mindset. And in this modern era with these people who are educated and so on, they won't stay. I don't know. I feel sorry for the organization, but I'm no more, so I have to move my mind from it. Right? So yeah, the Prime Minister spoke when he came into office. You see, and that was a smoke screen to destroy the organization. He says that there was no succession planning. Well, you see, you don't have to be a specialist to know that military organizations inherently are designed with an internal succession plan, because you have promotions from one rank to the next. You have a law that specifies how promotion should be done, when it should be done, and how it should be done. So you always have people you can dip into. So don't tell me that you don't have enough superintendents that you can get an ACP. Don't tell me you don't have enough ACPs that you can get a deputy or a commissioner, right? Don't tell me you don't have enough sergeants that you can get an inspector. So he's saying there was no succession plan, right? And what he did, I was moved from the executive. ACP Mitchell was moved from the executive. I am 52 years old. Mitchell is a little bit older. Moved, and you know what you replaced us with? Two retirees. So the two retirees are there now. During that period, not one person was mentored or coached. So what succession plan is he talking about? What succession? What he said that just to create the anomaly so that he can move in and to politic in the force. And he has successfully done so. So right now, you have two retirees and then you have young people. Let me say this to you. The police force, Royal Grenada Police Force, is a beacon, right, in the region. We've always been, right? We've always been special. If you talk to anybody in the region, we make something out of nothing. So I have no reason to say that we don't have the best officers who can fill all those positions. We have persons right now who could fill all the positions. And I'm not throwing shade on the two retirees. They done well. These guys have given their life to the police force, and kudos to them and all commendation to them. But I'm making the point that there are sufficiently trained persons within the force to hold every position. So this idea of lack of succession plan is just politics, right? I remembered vividly during the campaign where the prime minister said, talk about how you treat the force. In fact, he's the first politician that spoke directly to the police force, that interfered with the internal environment, spoke to the police force specially. And he said, well, people will be promoted on merit. And then he also said that they won't be promoted based on who the wife is. So since then, I know it's out to get me, right? Not just me, but I'm in the firing line. So I know that he's out to get me. So I knew that I couldn't survive. I didn't know how it would be done, but he spoke it before. And obviously, his mantra now, and we have to believe him, that only the NDC should get anything, should the other side shouldn't get. So I guess I'm on the other side. You know, after I listened to the Public Service Commission, I thought the NMP was some drug cartel or some organized crime or some gang or something. I couldn't believe they was talking about a political party. So the fact that she heads the political party, I can't be part of national security. Miss Simon, look, I've been around this thing for 34 years, for several elections. And I don't know that the police force at any level holds any information or intelligence that can give any political party any kind of advantage. We treat with security, right? So I don't know if now they're changing that. Maybe because the chairman insisted that I couldn't be the husband of Emmeline Pierre and be part of the senior management of the force. So I don't know if they're now turning the senior management into an arm of the NDC. Other than that, the police doesn't treat with political intelligence. We deal with just crime and so on, and we protect every group. When at the night of an election, the police sets up itself to protect any person who emerge as the apparent leader elect. So if it's the opposite side, you have a group of people who are now positioned to protect, and that happens all the time. So I don't know about any advantage that I would have. I did quiz them. I asked them if I was politicking in police training school and trying to convince people now well, there is no election. I don't know about what, maybe to support, I don't know, to become mercenaries for NNP, I don't know. And they said no, they didn't hear that. I mean, it sounds as a joke to me still, because I do not know. I found myself in a very awkward position because I couldn't defend that. I can now, I had to tell that to my wife very softly because she started to blame herself for my demise. I say to you, what? I have a great respect for the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. I have absolutely nothing against him. But I can safely say, based on my account, and I'm saying that based on empirical evidence, I'm not saying that because I feel a certain way. Based on what I've seen happen to the police force, what I've seen happen to members of the police force, and myself, I believe it's safe to say that the Honorable Deacon Mitchell is bad for national security and it's bad for the police force. It may be good for other things, but national security, absolutely not. Watch me, as a police officer, I was embarrassed when the Honorable beloved Prime Minister posed with a marijuana plant, just dashing water in the face of the police force. I felt embarrassed. Here we are running after people who are involved, whether you like it or not, and we are heading towards a place of either decriminalization or legalization. That is a global approach. But as a Prime Minister, when you do that, what you are saying is that you don't respect the police. You posing with some ganja tree planted by someone, and you're smiling on social media for all to see. What are you saying to the police? What are you saying to the police? So I mean, maybe it's a good time to go to, because I mean, to sit through this embarrassment, to watch somebody who's supposed to lead, not just in office, but by example. And this man is parading with a ganja tree as if it's the best thing to do. Something had to be wrong. And that is why I'm saying that he's not good for national security. Outside of what he's doing, he's destroying the police force. Let me tell you something. You and me calling his name. ASP Mitchell was moved as a member of the executive and given some nothing burger to do. I don't know what, not even the commissioner knows what he's doing. This man is highly skilled. I mean, You could name the things that he's involved in, and he's just there doing nothing, just wasting this man who can contribute. The only thing that man did is because his name is Mitchell, and I believe aligned to the wrong Mitchell. I never even hear that man say anything political, but he's aligned to the wrong Mitchell, and so he's just crushed. How can we allow that to happen? Let me just give you something quickly before I go. Um, Somebody asked me why I didn't push back and why I didn't fight to stay. Let me tell you something. 5 months into my vacation, somebody asked me if I had an engine on the SSU compound that somebody have to collect. But I don't know what they're talking about because I don't run a garage, I run a school. And the commissioner and the deputy was asking about an engine I had on the compound that somebody had to collect. I was baffled. I called the deputy. I said, Dep, I understand you're asking about an engine. He said, no, he didn't know why. He was just acting on behalf of the commissioner. Well, being an investigator for all my life, that's 34 years, I investigated. And then I recognized, Miss Simon, listen to this. A few days before, I called one of my colleagues, and asked him to loan me his power wash engine to do some work at my home. That I just have to spray to take a dot, right? On the phone, privately. Next few days, they were inquiring about an engine I have for somebody to collect. What do you make of that? These guys have intercepted my phone and listened to my conversation. So, so, so this your privacy. These guys are using the machinery to waylay and to follow and to listen to the conversation of police officers, of senior people. That is the only way they could be asking about an engine, because I had just a simple conversation. I said power wash, but I added engine to it. And they're asking about this engine that I have that somebody have to collect. Almost the specific conversation, but of course, because they're so daft in intelligence, they believe it's some crime that I'm involved in. And the deputy couldn't explain. You see why I have to leave? You can't be in an environment like that. These guys are comfortable in destroying you as a person and your reputation. And finally, the prime minister interferes with my employability. Because I know, let me tell you, when you hear you're cut loose from a security institution, an organization, people always wonder why. And I have to now say, well, the boss lost confidence in me. That's a shadow that the prime minister, know he's synonymous with him, that he throws over people. And that is for futuristic damage. Because he never explains why, and I don't know why. But a potential employer listening to this could think a plethora. One person said to me that he heard that I was leaking information. I was having some night school at the police training school teaching NMP politics. I can't blame him, because that is what the cloud of loss of confidence means. Anything. And once you don't have an explanation, what the prime minister has done is put a shadow over my life. And that is why I'm saying he's bad for this thing. He's the wrong fit. That is their phrase for national security and to run any country. If you are able to instruct a creature of the Constitution, right, to trample on the rights of a citizen, how could you fit for this office? So I will leave that here. Anytime we're ready again, we'll talk. We have a bunch of things to talk about.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming on. I just want to let the public know, for those of you who don't know, the Honorable Prime Minister, Deacon Mitchell, is the Minister of National Security. He's the one in charge. He's a line minister for the R.G.P.F. And so that's why he is saying he has lost confidence in Superintendent Tafawa Pierre. Have you met? You all met before, like in job wise? Have you had any sort of encounter?
Yeah, we met before. I have him as a friend. We never had any problem. We met before. Even after the elections, when he visited the senior police, we took a photograph together. I mean, a new prime minister and all. I know issue. I'm not sure what that is about. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm cool with the honorable prime minister.
Well, knowing you, you cool with everyone. Uh, Tav, thank you so much for coming in and explaining. Of course, I would be calling on you again once other things progress. You would come back to keep us up to date on where you are and what's going on.
True, I have a lot of free time now, so call me anytime. I'm unemployed. Yeah. Thank you, Miss Simon.
All the best in your endeavors.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.
Of course, we ran out of time already.
Hi everyone, thanks for checking out the Bub Report's social media pages. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch our weekly live show, follow our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can catch repeat episodes on Wednesdays at 4 and 5 p.m. respectively on CRFM Radio and GBN TV in Grenada. We are also viewed on Sundays at 8 p.m. on WPG 10 throughout the Caribbean. Thanks for watching.